Alright, what's up, everybody? So today we're going to talk about, actually it was pretty funny on the way up here today. Usually I like to write my email first before doing the podcast because it allows me to be a little bit more methodical and planned out, and I kind of have some mental notes or actual notes that I can use during the time of speaking here instead of just freestyling all the time like I usually like to do. Today I didn't. And I actually forgot my subject because I was like, I remembered a topic like on Tuesday or Wednesday, like, oh, this would be a good one to talk about. And then for some reason, Wednesday, Thursday, and most of this morning, I forgot what I was going to talk about. And then about 5 minutes away from the gym, I was like, vitality versus longevity. That's what it was. So we're going to talk about the difference between vitality and longevity and my personal stance on which I actually think is maybe a little bit more or a lot more important. I haven't really made the decision on how much weight I would put in the other one, which one's more important to me. So let's jump right into it. So longevity, it's funny for me during the pandemic, I actually got into like a lot of like what mainstream would call biohacking and just random little things to really optimize health, because I said, well, we're in a pandemic and I got all this time, so might as well make my health even more of a priority than I already do, and I have all this time, so let's start doing this stuff. So things like, having red light therapy at home, and then doing the infrared sauna, then doing the cold plunge, and all the supplements and all the crap, right? And on top of everything else nutritionally and workout-wise, stress management or meditating, all that good stuff. So as I was going through it, it really kind of got me deep in the rabbit hole of longevity. Then even like the tracking with blood sugar and the tracking with sleep devices and all these good things. And it got me, one thing that I realized about tracking especially, that really, it kind of got me in a rabbit hole that was almost to a point where I was like, I feel like I'm creating stress and anxiety in a little bit of a sense on how aware I was of these things and how like anal and strict I was about these things. And I kind of like felt to a point where I was like just going through a mini point of reflection where I was like, I don't know, like how good it is to be so just like insanely focused on like these things that you need to optimize. And if you're always in this constant state of optimization, it's really easy to just feel like you're never really content with where you're at, right? So chasing longevity, when we think about longevity, and it could be a little bit subjective to people, but for me and my version of it is like the ability to do something for a very long time, right? So living a long time, or training without injuries, or maybe even sustainability for some. So longevity, I think, is like the ability to go the distance, right? So when we think about people in the longevity space, a lot of people are like, hey, I want to be a centenarian. I want to be someone that lives past 100 years old and can function and will do all these things, right? Then there's vitality, and vitality is more like health span versus lifespan. So I think that's kind of like how you feel in your energy and your mood. And I think if you were to look at kind of, not that they don't, like when you look at health, like I've always said, there's mental, there's emotional, there's physical, there's spiritual, there's all these other, co-departments of these things, right? I think about like lifespan and longevity kind of being like the physical side of it. I don't know why I look at it more like that, but it's, even though it involves the mental and the emotional, all these other things, because those play a role in the physical aspect. But, the ability to go without disease, or go without cancer, or go without injury. Like, these are the physical parts of the body being able to endure and go the distance. When I think about vitality, I think that it ties more in the emotional state to your health, the mental state and the well-being and the true like kind of state that you're in during the time of this, right? So before I go on kind of like separating these two, I really want people to understand that they do go hand in hand a lot with each other. There's so many parallels. And through these parallels, there's also things that can make them different in their own ways, right? But if you think about, like, if you're really trying to improve your vitality and how you feel, right? And, like, the mood and the energy and the emotional state, those things in return, most of the time, not all the time, obviously, but most of the time will provide some longevity benefits. Sorry, I'm drinking my coffee, and I'm, like, really behind on my coffee, so I'm trying to catch up. And so no matter what, you have to understand, like, these things do run parallel, but where they run different is really the thing for me that I've gone through a lot of, like, introspection of just being, like, really thinking about, like, how important is it for me not to have these things in my life to gain a couple extra years or a decade. Like, I don't know how long it is, right? It's very hard to like just sit here and like measure those things like that. But then there's also the side of it where I'm like, well, that requires us actually making it all the way there. And this might sound a little dark and maybe even cynical to some people, but like life can be very short. Like freak accidents happen. And we're watching the Jeffrey Dahmer story right now on Netflix, and if you have not watched that, please do. It's very creepy. Just like where this guy was mentally. But I think about like random things like that. Like, like when I was 18, I almost died in a car accident. I've had I lost a good friend of mine at a really young age due to suicide. Like, I just think about like how life can be short, and doing the things that maybe longevity provides. Longevity really requires a certain level of sacrifice, just like any other goal. And if longevity is the overarching goal, you are going to sacrifice a lot in the short term to provide a long-term benefit, which I am a huge believer in, right? Like for me, it's like working out is like a big thing that I talk about all the time, obviously, as a gym owner, but like working out is something that breaks your body down, like, but in the long term, it makes you stronger, it makes you more resilient, it makes you, etc., right? So with longevity, you have to understand that there's a certain amount of sacrifice that's required to get there. And as I've said in probably a podcast a year ago, and something I say all the time, is your goals have to be in alignment with your level of sacrifice. If your goals are outweighing what your level of sacrifice is required to get there, then you're never going to really truly be happy, right? And if your sacrifice is way higher than your goals, then set some damn bigger goals, because that's a really easy fix. But with vitality, I think about like, I really want to live a life where I'm just like truly every single minute of it and day of it, like I enjoy, right? Which is why I talk about so much about mindset. This is why I talk about so much the importance of community, environment, the people and things that you surround yourself with. This is why I talk about having hobbies and things that you love and play and like all these things, because, even if you do get to be one of those lucky ones that gets to go the distance, having the vitality for me would still be a little bit more important than being someone that lives a long time that doesn't have the vitality, right? And I know this conversation isn't just me being very like if you had one or the other type of things, which I don't really like when a lot of people do that, because obviously you can have so much of both. I'm just wanting people to understand that my continuum-based approach to this is leaning more towards vitality. Like no matter what time that you have left on this planet, either being 80 years or 80 weeks or whatever it is, do things that you love and do things that maybe are not going to be 100% aligned for health and longevity, but really make you happy. There was a post from a guy that I reposted the other day. This is not really random, actually, now that I think about it, but it was talking about this guy's literally whole Instagram profile is just about tequila. And he talks about different types of tequila. And for those that don't know, I love red wine. I love good tequila. I love good beer. Those are my three drinks. That's all I really drink. And one of the posts was trying to talk about like the health benefits, which is funny because like some of them are like a little nuanced, but whatever. And in the description, it kind of resonated with me. It's like your mental state is more important than your physical state, because a lot of people talk about, and because I follow majority of my audience that I listen to daily for education are very, very health centric. And they're like, these are the people that like, they're not drinking, they're not eating out, they're just like extreme almost on that side, right? And I personally don't want to be that coach, that influencer, that person, that friend, that whatever that is so extreme on those things that like there's not really balance for majority of the people, right? Like I want to be able to go out with my friends and have beers or drink on the golf course. I want to be able to go out to dinner and kind of feel like I have a little bit more freedom to order what I want when I'm with my girlfriend, because we don't eat out all the time. Like I still want to do majority of the things that provide me health and provide me longevity, but really in the 100% kind of look out of everything, I want the importance of my mental health and my emotional health to be my number one priority at all, because I know when I take care of those two things that everything else just falls into place. Like for me, I've always said this with working out over the last 5 years, like I don't really have workout goals. Like I don't really have a goal to be lifting X amount of weight or run X amount of mile time or, be a certain body fat percentage. Like I love it because it's more of my mental outlet for me. It's like something I love doing for myself. It's something that I know that when I can push myself hard in the gym, I can push myself harder than life. So it provides me energy, even though it's funny because it's something that takes away energy. It gives me more in the long run. So vitality, when I think about things like drinking, for me would probably be number one. Like out of all the things that I talk to with clients, like I'm generally not to toot my own horn, I know I'm probably doing more stuff for my health than 90 or 95% of the world is. So I know I'm doing so much that is going to be good for me, that's going to provide me all the benefits that I look for. But I'm also someone that really preaches the importance of needing to have balance between everything you do so you can enjoy this process and enjoy the ride of life that we are provided. And we have no idea how long this journey is going to be. So instead of going through this just very myopically focused, extremist reduction point of view of living to provide you living to 110 years old, don't be afraid to relax a little bit, right? Like, have fun. Now, that being said, there are some people maybe out there that enjoy all the things that are required to be sacrificed to provide longevity and to provide all those things. I'm just speaking here with my own story because this is the easiest person to speak from, because it's just literally how I feel with those things, right? So vitality for you should be something that you're always constantly evaluating. The way that we evaluate that tends to be very subjective. It is, where are you at with stress? Where are you at with your emotional state? Where are you at with your relationships with yourself, with your friends, with your family, with your job? How do you feel? What are the hobbies that you're being able to do for yourself? Because these are the things that make you feel good. At the end of the day, my overarching mission would be having people feel their best versus live to 110 years old, right? Both of them are awesome feats. Both of them would be good goals, and I would love to have both if I could. And I'm just trying to have this conversation to be like, hey, if I were to make this a black and white statement and separate these two things, what would I personally make more of a priority? So when it comes to all these things, I want to keep today kind of short. I really look at vitality being a bigger focus for me, because I'd much rather live a life that doesn't feel like I'm having to go through all this reduction or very extremist points of view, or not hanging out with people, or just really isolating myself. Like, I don't know. And I know there's so much like context to this statement that I'm saying, because there is a community of people that just want to be like that. And I personally don't want to be part of that community. I want to be part of a community that people feel like they have balance, right? Like, we do member outings here once every 3 months, so once a quarter. And a lot of it's like drinking, hanging out, eating good food, socializing. And majority of people there are drinking. I'm like, hey, have a drink, like, relax, have a good time, celebrate yourself. You know, I think there's a point of diminishing returns with everything in life, but my pursuit of balance, the vision to enjoy the ride of this thing called life, is the most important statement that I will ever make. And it's the most important thing for me in my personal mission statement of living life. Living a long time, having good health, being strong, being lean, all great things. But if you don't enjoy the process of it, it's not that rewarding, right? Really make the vitality of everything that you do. And vitality is way more subjective. Longevity can be way more objective. So it's important to focus on both. Longevity is very important. Vitality is even more important to me. But I would really just constantly be going through moments of reflection with yourself and how you feel, and understand that vitality is the thing that makes you feel a certain way. And if you don't feel the best, if you're doing things that are sacrificing too much for your well-being and your happiness, and you being someone that's really trying to be super strict on diet is requiring you never to hang out with your friends again, there's moments of that, but it shouldn't be cold turkey. And this is kind of my big take-home nugget for you guys, is like, I don't think anything should necessarily be cold turkey in life. Like, there's going to be things that are deemed unhealthy, like going out with some girlfriends at the end of the night. I don't know why I say girlfriends, friends, anybody, right? And having a good time and staying out late and throwing your sleep off one night. Yeah, not ideal to do it all the time. But if you want to do it every once in a while and you get to hang out with your friends doing it, that's something you should be doing, right? Having a drink, right? Like, I know for me, like, the one thing that me and my girlfriend try working on a lot is like trying to like minimize drinking maybe during the week, or not drinking too much during the weekends. The weekends we tend to have a little bit more of a free-for-all. It always sounds like I make myself sound like an alcoholic, which probably by Webster Dictionary version I probably am, but like, I have a glass of wine cooking dinner and a glass of wine with dinner every night, right? So by definition, I'm over drinking on what I should. But for me, I enjoy it, and my girlfriend enjoys it. We enjoy having time together doing those things, so we're going to keep it. I'm not going to stress myself out making it something that's so extreme in my head that actually makes it worse over time. So remember that all the things that you do for your health need to be a little bit more sacrificed than obviously where you're currently at, if the goal is somewhere outside of yourself. So no matter what, there's going to be more sacrifice to get you somewhere. but make sure that the goals and the processes and the habits and the actions that you need to do in order to get there are not so extreme that you're making yourself stressed about it, right? Like, I dealt with this a lot with clients that were using like sleep tracking devices or workout tracking devices. They're all like, they're stressed out if they didn't get the good night of sleep, or they're stressed out if they didn't burn a certain amount of calories in the workouts. I'm like, you're letting technology ruin you, right? Like, have fun in the process of doing it, right? So don't let the things that are so longevity focused or health focused take away from vitality, right? All right, guys. Well, I want to try to keep this one short. So as always, hope this helps. Share this with anybody that needs to hear this, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Take care.